psychopathy and narcissism and how it is viewed. So as always, this is not a program for children. This is not a program for people that have any trauma, have any PTSD. So please remove all children from the room because we're about to get started. Thank you and welcome to my live audience. I appreciate it and I love it because I love the interaction of getting everybody involved and getting their 2 cents on what they've experienced and who I am and what I bring to the table. I'm your host, Sister Farah. I'm professed lay Franciscan. I operate as a religious demonologist and I assist in the Office of Spiritual Healing, Deliverance, Warfare, Exorcism. And I have a number of years experience, and I have been exclusively studying this topic for a number of years because I have found that in many cases, the elements and parallels to how the demonic attacks and creates oppression from low level to high level is very similar to narcissism. So we're going to go over the top 10. I've opened up a case file to go over some really great questions tonight. We're going to start with St. Michael prayer. And if you have any questions, please hit Ash up because she's going to be pushing them at me so that I don't miss anything from you. Thank you so much. Give a like, thumbs up. And here we go. In nome di Patri et Filio et Spiritus Sanctus, sic ora in principio et nunc et semper et saecula saeculorum. Sancte Michael Arcangele, defende nos in prelio, contra nequitiam insidiis diaboli est oppressidium, imperere Deo supplices te peccamur tuque, princeps maletia celestis satana maliosque, spiritus malignos, qui et perditionem animarum pervegantur in mundo divina virtute in infernam detrude. Amen. As I was relating to everyone, welcome Ross, welcome Athena, welcome Asha, welcome Pasha. Thank you all for joining me all over and the Philippines and all the other countries dialing in tonight. Welcome. We're covering one of my favorite topics, how the demonic operates in our world as seen through part of the DSM-5 subcategory of personality disorder called narcissism. And for those of you that are new and that are unfamiliar to the personality disorder spectrum, 3 of the dark triad is Machiavellianism, narcissism, and psychopathy, of which, there are organic causes, and then there is pathological causes. We're going to cover some of that tonight, and we're going to cover a lot of, this is an old case, which I really had a lot of interesting dialogue back and forth with what was going on to parse out where the oppression was and what was happening, what was going on. So we're going to dive right in. I don't know if you can hear, but this is a wonderful opportunity for you. Do you hear the rain and the thunder and lightning? I think it kind of gives it a strange laughter effect in the back. Perfect for an October evening. So what we're going to look at first is, as we go down these top 10s, as I said, this is not a show for anyone that has any sort of trauma, emotional difficulties, or subsets in mental issues that we could be upsetting you. I don't want to upset anyone. All children, leave the room. Got it? Everybody can hear me okay? Thank you. Yes. Welcome, Patrick. When we look at what is narcissism, is it a conscious choice or is it an affliction? Like everything else, in the DSM, the Diagnostic Statistician's Manual, for looking at people that have difficulties, whether you're having difficulty with depression, whether you are projecting a personality, such as it used to be called multiple personality disorder, is now called dissociative identity disorder, and narcissism. And this has been said by numerous sources. I was watching a Sam Vaknin video not too long ago that puts forth that narcissism in the category is the first dissociative identity disorder, or the first split, the first schizoid split. Because in narcissism and the classification of narcissism, it's instantaneous. That's why I use the comedy tragedy mask for these series, because 1 minute everything is wonderful, the next minute you don't know who you're dealing with. They're the victim and everything is awful, or they're screaming and they're yelling. And this is much the very same parallel of how demonics target us and how they operate as the prince of the air operates in this world. 1 minute they're going to be telling you, oh yes, you're wonderful, go do that, you're going to be fabulous in that role, you know what, just spill your guts, just put everything in it. And then next they're telling you, you were an idiot, you weren't even prepared, you flubbed that. And your mind is just filled with all this negativity, and you can't figure out where's it coming from. This is what we're parsing out tonight. So number one, is narcissism a conscious choice or an affliction? This is a very, very important distinction because, according to the DSM, as I was referring to, which is the psychiatry manual of how they diagnose individual mental difficulties, personality disorders, narcissism is a pathology. All right. So affliction. Let's define an affliction. An affliction is something, if you have cancer, you're afflicted with cancer. If you have a diagnosis of a speech impediment, you're afflicted, your speech is afflicted. Do you see? This is something that, you have to work with, and this is something that you're going to be trying to overcome and work with. So in the sense, is narcissism an affliction? Is it something that they have? It is actually a defense mechanism for 99.999% of individuals that I have met, I have been married to, I have dated, I have been involved with, I have had as cases, I have had as friends. This is one of the strongest, next to DID, dissociative identity disorder. This is one of the strongest defense mechanisms known to man. Why is that? And in the demonic, we'll cover that parallel, the demonic, here in a second, because anytime the brain of a human, the delicate brain that controls all these emotions, has to input, download, subcategorize, and define an event, an action, getting stuck in the eye, input, or in other words, let's see that a child is seeing somebody brutally murdered, strangled. Anytime the brain has to cooperate in that moment, and I mean cooperate by downloading and storing this information, this is where the mind, schizoid, disassociates, backs up and says, I can't handle this. This is too painful. I don't understand this. I can't do it. And then boom, walls are up. There is just no. Brain says no. So in the case of narcissism, what we have is we have a specific reaction or a specific building block to a set of circumstances that occur when the narcissist is a child. For some of the worst narcissists that I have ever met, this is so horrific, this is so sad. Conscious choice or affliction? Both. And I'm going to tell you why it's conscious choice and affliction for narcissists. There has been a number of studies and a number of psychological papers written for intensive, it's called behavior modification therapy, BMT, that narcissists with this specific disorder on either fence that I'm going to tell you how they're created have been able to change behavior patterns, not attitudes. Big difference. When we're talking about an attitude, if I see somebody murdered in the street, I'm going to be like, oh my gosh, what can I do? Who can I call? How can I help? Do I have a blanket? Do I have something? What can I do to help the situation? That is my attitude. All right? There is nothing that is going to change that attitude about me. However, if you are a psychopath, if you are a narcissist, if you are a borderline, you may have very strong, different reactions, not wrong reactions, but completely right for the mental ability that you have to see these things. And I want to add this caveat that I am not a licensed counselor. I am not a licensed therapist. I am a student of psychology. I am a participating and active religious demonologist, and I'm lining up these attributes of these personality disorders with the demonic for you. So in no shape or form do I claim to be an expert. I'm only sharing my experience. I had personal experience being with one for 17 years, more personal experience being with another one for 10 years, and on top of that, I've had loads of cases. So I do have a little bit of personal knowledge about this. So let's go back to, is this a conscious choice or affliction? When you have a conscious choice, say, I choose to stab somebody, there's a certain set of thought processes, attitudes that go into the thinking of the knife and stabbing, whether you are premeditating or you are in the moment, okay? There's a set of choices that you make. A narcissist does not have that currently. Why? Because as I told you, when they were younger and the trauma happened, they learned to react immediately. So their reactions are swift, they're usually violent, and they are non-changeable. Those attitudes will not change. The behavior, however, the behavior can change. And behavior modification is a wonderful thing for people because it can help them stop what they're doing and step back and out of themselves. However, yes, Athena, as you know, this is not something that a lot of people believe that, well, enough love, enough care, enough. No. The bottom line is that narcissists rarely get diagnosed. All narcissists have the same playbook, just like the demonic. The narcissist can be trained to react differently. There is no changing. Once that split occurs, there's no changing the attitude. So for whatever reason, in order to maintain you as supply, and by supply I mean reactional, whipping post, getting what they need, they may, for months to years, choose to change behaviors to make it more comfortable for you to trust them again. Does that make sense? Because demons do the same thing. Demons will do the same thing over and over again. This is what is so absolutely crazy about narcissism. Because people think, and it's a word that's thrown about. I also want to parse this out in number one here, that just because somebody is full of pride and they like themselves a lot and they tell you, well, maybe you could have got the job if you would have, maybe done something A, B, or C. Just because somebody's very vain does not mean that they have narcissism. Just because somebody has a horrible attitude and they're constantly putting you down, or they wait till no one's around and they tell you, you sure you want to eat that jelly donut? I thought you were losing weight. You're looking a little big in the rear. I mean, hey, I'm your friend. You told me you wanted to lose weight. That is, thank you so very much. God bless you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate all the support. And Diane, thank you everyone just for being here, giving it a thumbs up and sharing it. I want this information out there. Do you know why? It's my job to put prayer and hope in every heart I can. And whether you're loving a narcissist, and fighting your own inner demons, whether you've known a narcissist or you have narcissist friends and you're fighting those demons, trust me, the battle is spiritual. It's not against flesh and blood. As we look at narcissism, we look at these traits and characteristics in many people. And I mean, a lot of people have pointed to our leaders, our recent presidents, as in being highly narcissistic. Now, in those cases, I may or may not agree. What I do have to say is that it takes a high degree of self-confidence, bordering on narcissism and verging into narcissism, to take control and run something that no one else wants to do or everybody else is scared to do. It is what it is. However, we're talking about the conscious choice or affliction. Now, the same thing with demons. I mean, we look at demons. They are preternatural creatures. They are, and I've explained this before, and I love going over it again. Oh, how horrible. Sean Marie, that is just absolutely horrible. Sean is sharing something with us that I was just going over with narcissisms, how ugly and how horrible and how nasty they are. 1 minute they're going to tell you they love you and you're just the most beautiful, oh, they can't live without you, the most wonderful creature they've ever met in their whole life. And the next minute, aren't you dead? I thought your friend had COVID. You should just die of COVID. And you're like, where did this come from? This is the person you've just spent the last 15 years of your life with. That's called malignant narcissism. That's for another show. Good to see you, Edgar. Yes, it must be gone through at a spiritual angle, because we must understand that demons, and I'm not going to say that they get glory, because I don't believe they get glory. What demons get, okay, if, let's find a good example. This is our world here, okay? It is a static place with a beginning of time and the end of time. Everything else, that's where the demons are, and that's where God is. However, God sent Satan and the prince of the air here to pester us. Thank you so much, Edgar. Thank you. Thank you guys for all the support tonight. Gosh, you guys are going to make me cry. Whew, stop. You guys are so wonderful. When we look at the spiritual aspect of demons, their rank and hierarchy. Thank you very, very, very much. Oh my gosh, I can't read your name. Libby, thank you. God, you guys, you're helping me rock the show out. When a demon is placed here within the ranks, because they all have ranks. It's just like our armies, our military, our Air Force, and our Marines. They are preternatural. They're eternal. They don't die like we do and get to go hang out with Jesus and wait for the end of time, so we're all going to be judged. They're basically rotated through. So in other words, if I have a demon that's telling me I'm fat, eat some more cake, and I'm ignoring it and I'm laughing at it, guess what? It goes and bothers somebody else down the road. That's what I mean. They don't die. They don't go away. However, if this demon gets a little bit in my head and starts telling me, ooh, you're beautiful, you ought to go date, you ought to go sleep around, you ought to go do this and go make money doing this and that, and I start believing it, then the next level of generals are going to come around, because they want me to adopt the same attitude, the same level of narcissism that demon has. And it will go up in the rank and up in the rank and up in the rank until they have me acting like them. Is that a glory? No. That is a higher rank that they get to go pester somebody at a higher rank. I hope that's clear, because they don't go anywhere unless they're exercised out by you and I laughing, binding them to the foot of the cross. They have to leave us alone. What does it say in the Bible? Resist Satan and he's out of there. Never forget that. I'm going to remind you at the end too. We have so much to get through, you guys. What you're looking at, conscious choice and affliction. if I have been diagnosed with narcissism, which, like I said, is pretty rare because most of them don't, narcissism is usually a comorbidity of borderline personality disorder, bipolar personality disorder. There's all sorts in the spectrum that this could be an overlay. And you usually have, there is something, this is live. Thank you so much for joining us. This is usually one of those things that and usually it's a spouse that'll drive, come on, we've got to go in, we got to get some therapy. And the narcissist is just dragging their heels going, do I have to? Well, it's all her fault. It's all his fault. Never the narcissist's fault. And as the psychologist or the psychiatrist makes notes and asks you both to go over a series of questions, that's when they find out where the tendencies are. Or, as in a recent case, the spouse had filed for, what is that called, workman's compensation. And in order to get this, they had to go through a whole bunch of psychiatric, tests. And it was very scary, the stuff that happened. So what we have is we have the ability to listen and emulate these spiritual preternatural creatures that are pestering us to be what they are. And yes, the devil definitely gets bored that easy. But let me tell you, it's the little ones that are bored that easy, not the big ones, not the persistent ones. They will come at us. Yes, antisocial personality disorder, that is more in the Machiavellian, that is more in the malignant line of narcissism. Sean, I'm answering questions. I apologize. When we're looking at the supernatural warfare aspect of it, we're looking at the fact that these demons don't want to change. They had that opportunity at the moment they were asked, this is my creation and this is who I need you to serve. When they non serviam, when they said nope, no, they do not want to change. Humans have free will. Never forget. Now, does this mean that your narcissist could change? The narcissist that you know at work, the narcissist that you've been married to, the narcissist that is the father of your children or the mother of your children. I'm hearing more and more about borderline women that have overlying narcissism. And it's so sad. It's so incredibly sad for these children because, as I said, this develops in childhood from a severe trauma that is etched into the gray matter that they disassociate, and or a parent that idolizes that child, and that child can do no wrong, and that child is given and coddled and separated above the parent to where that child becomes the god in that house. That, and I met one of those. Not good at all. So, conscious choice or affliction for humans? Both. Supernatural, I won't call it an affliction, I will call it a choice, and they cannot change. A lot of people want to feel sorry for demons, and I really have a problem with this because there is no dual nature. There is no free will. The demons, they chose what they were doing. There is no taking it back. And everybody thinks, well, God created demons, and like he created us, can't, just because they fell, can't God forgive them? That's a long explanation. I'd have to go into Thomas Aquinas, Jordan Amman, and a few other exorcists that I know to explain that. So it's not for this show, but they cannot choose. Demons can never not be demonic. They can never not have a prime directive of destroying God's creatures. Period. On to 2, because I can get long-winded. I apologize. Now, this is a really interesting one. Do intrinsically lazy people adopt this disorder, or are they more susceptible to this affliction? Well, let's go over what is intrinsically lazy. Intrinsically lazy is a product, a direct product or a byproduct of actually, I'm going to say it, a lack of parenting. When you have a parent that cares about offspring, they're going to put parameters. They are going to put borders around what is permissible and what is not permissible. And I think that's the most important thing to understand here, is that I don't believe there are intrinsically lazy people. I think that people become lazy as a choice of learning the behavior of depending on other people to do things for them. So it is, when you look at a set of lazy attitudes, emotions, and affects, okay? Because laziness, if you speak to a counselor about this, this is an affect. It is a behavior that can easily be changed, all right? Especially if the person has no other choice, they're not going to be lazy. You know, if they're going to die or get a bite of food, they're going to get up and get the food. All there is to it. So do these people adopt this disorder? This is not when we look at the develop of narcissism, as I was explaining how you get it, it's not possible to adopt this disorder late in life. And I can understand how people think, well, this person is so wonderful and so loving, and this person was so giving, and they're on the board of directors for any sort of shall we say philanthropic charities, and they're just the most wonderful person you would ever meet. Then I started dating them and I married them, and he's a nightmare from hell. What happened? How did he all of a sudden adopt this horrible persona that wants to destroy me and insult me and just criticize everything I do? This is not an adoption. The warning signs are always there. And it's the same thing I tell people. I got a case recently about someone that is seeing children, a few children that are so adorable and so sweet and interactive with the clients. This is a business, okay? So what we have, very great actors, Athena, excellent. What we're looking at is we have people that want to believe that because a spirit is a child, that it must be innocent, that it must be a good ghost, that it could be a ghost we can pray back into heaven. No, it's not. No. And this, in a sense, is clearly just like the narcissist wants to present itself as innocent and as sweet and as kind and playful, and please come into my sphere of attention and pay attention to me. That is the number one demand of any demon and any narcissist. Pay attention to me. It doesn't get any simpler than that. And the minute you turn away, boom, their power's gone. I'm not kidding. Can I say that again? Demons and narcissists want all your attention. And the minute you go, nope, they disappear. Now, we're not talking all demons, because sometimes if you've invited a bunch of them in because of your behavior and because of what you've done, it doesn't always work that way. There are certain steps that are going to have to be done, and you can see some of our other videos. Please give us a like, a thumbs up, subscribe to the bell if you can, because this is the spiritual warfare place to help you exercise yourself. As Jesus said, you can do it. When we talk about adopting the disorder, it is not possible. When we talk about people all of a sudden realizing that they've changed, all of a sudden they've flipped a switch and schizoid just came to the fore, they were always there. Just as in these little children that are pretending to be ghosts, demanding to be loved and nurtured and get attention. No, not possible. When it says, are they more susceptible to this affliction? Lazy people are only susceptible to what they need, what they want, and what they're willing to do to get it. So that's three things: what they need, what they want, and what they're willing to do. And hey, I have my lazy days. What do I need? what do I want? What do I have to do? So does that make me susceptible to the affliction of narcissism? Narcissism is so multi-layered that narcissism, I have to explain it to you. Okay, everybody knows what a leech is that lives in the bottom of the lakes, They're constantly looking for something juicy. It has lots of blood. Well, a narcissist is the same way. A narcissist, personality-wise, is magnanimous and giving. And for the most part, although, as somebody pointed out, there are many antisocial narcissists that you will never really know they're narcissist because they just seem to hold back a little bit and they're more covert and they're quiet. Demons are the same way. They will entice you to thinking that they're your conscience. They're your guardian angel. They're giving you prophecies because you knew who was on that phone. You knew your girlfriend was going to break up with her boyfriend. This is how demons work. And we think, well, wait a second. I pray and I go to church and I'm a good church person and I know Jesus. Don't think for 1 minute that demons aren't going to try to enter your head and trip you up the closer you get to God. Never assume that you're immune to the narcissism of a demon that wants to take you away from your peace. Never assume that you're too holy for that. Whew. It had to be said. Any questions from chat, Ash, before I get onto the next page? Okay, let's see. Yes, narcissistic supply. And that's basically what demons do. Demons are looking for supply. They're looking to destroy your humanity. Their supply is your destruction. A narcissist's supply is your misery because you must reflect exactly who they are, which is nothing. Zero. Nothing lives inside. I'll go over that here in a minute. So, okay, no questions. Let's get on to the next slide here, guys. This slide I thought was very important before I go on to the next questions, because I think it's very, very important for us to understand that what we speak is what we create. So what does this mean in terms of the demonic masks of narcissism and how the demons operate in our lives? There are many people that I have met that are very strong and confident men and women. Oh, thank you, Ash. Yes, in a sense, they are spiritual vampires, but you have to understand, I'm going to make a correction here, if I may. A spiritual vampire leaves its source alive. Narcissist will drain the last drop and leave you squealing in your last breath while they walk away laughing. That's demonic. Big difference here. Big difference. There's lots of spiritual vampires. There's lots of, I could say a lot of things about some of the mental personality disorders that are spiritual vampires. Narcissism, no, narcissism is so evil. It drains everything. And then if anything revives you, they're going to come back and pester you for more. Because, oh, they see you got a transfusion? I want some more of that. Let's see. Come on back over here. I kid you not. Hello, Rachel. Good to see you. So, Suddenly has a question. Before I go into these pictures of water, I want to address it. She understands narcissism and how to assess it over and over again. They slip through a net, and then she winds up getting devastated. And she wants to know, is it a curse? And how does she finally get free from attracting them? Yep, they drain the last drop, Athena. You know what, Suddenly Beautiful? I'm going to do a video on getting free from attracting them. because I think it's really important, because I've attracted them all my life. And we have to understand that there's two things that a narcissist looks for in a potential life victim and a temporary victim. Exactly, Edgar, because that word of faith and movement. Yes, we're going to talk about that in a second. So what you have to realize in getting free from attracting them, please understand that as God loves you, as Christ has developed the beauty in you that gives and that loves, every single dark thing that is of this earth and bound to this earth is jealous of that, whether it's in human form or spiritual form. So I'm not telling you that you cannot develop a thick skin and you cannot develop ways to recognize them quicker, but as far as attracting them, you can put out any kind of honey, sugar water, and put Vicks Vapor Rub around it. You can put whatever. A bee is still going to be attracted to the sugar, period. Wasps are going to be attracted to that sugar. If you have love in your heart and generosity, you have something that the narcissists want. So what we're looking at, the question that we need to address in a video here in narcissism is, how can I create a narcissist-proof attitude? Because our behaviors, if you're like me suddenly, my trauma bonds instantly find a narcissist and I want to heal him and I want to take care of him and I want to help him and I want to point him in the right direction. And then about 3 sentences in, I'm like, oh, here's another one. Somebody else help this person. And guess what? This is what you have to do. Understand, the problem is not with attracting narcissist. The problem is in recognizing the empty hollowness and lack of ability to empathize or connect with you on any level. Because narcissists, like demons, they are adept. And I mean, they are adept in just the most magical sense of repeating and giving you every single thing you want to hear. Whether it's how they're going to help you expand your business, whether they study you just like the demons. I tell people this in other videos. They watch us, these preternatural beings. They hear what we say. They see whether we drink coffee or tea or whether we drink alcohol. They watch every single thing we do. And then the narcissist will bring it to you. Little tiny little offerings like the demons do. They'll get in your mind just like the demons do. They will soak you with just the most wonderful life-affirming compliments, just like the demons do. And then when you think that it's okay and you found a safe place, that's when they're going to find that trauma inside of you or that dark place inside of you, that fear or something you revealed to them, and then they're going to rip it off like a scab, and you're going to go, what happened? The demonics and the narcissists do the same thing. So I think suddenly that it's going to be more important for us to focus on how do we recognize them quicker and drop them quicker. It is important. Yes, please hit like and share and subscribe if you can. And we must shut them down. And that is true. Athena was pointing out that this initial stage, yes, Sean, of attracting you is the demons, and narcissists mirror you. And that is one of the sad things that our culture and our youth are going through right now in this time, and we have for time immemorial. They feel so powerless. And who gives us power? The occult. Casting spells. Gaining power over people by what? Manipulating and influencing people. What do narcissists do? What do demons do? We're talking about the same thing. So if you're looking at being free from attracting them, what you'll do is you'll have a way of developing your own habits and behaviors that a narcissist will give a spiel to you, and they'll see in your eyes that you've got their number, and they will run. And I will do a video. I will do a 7-step thing because I've been studying this for a long time. And I think that just like anything else, whether we want to learn to bake a cake, whether we want to learn to change the oil in our car, I think that people that are susceptible to loving and helping people on a grand scale, because we're fixers, I think we can practice some ways to engage with people that says, I'm happy in my skin. You stay over there. You're not welcome here yet. We have to have very firm boundaries. So we'll get into that later. These images I wanted to go over real quick because I want us to realize that when we're looking at the shadow demons of narcissism, and I do call them shadow demons because they shadow demons. Narcissists are specific shadows. They are never flesh and blood. Narcissists, because of their split, because of their schizoid split, there's no personality there. Nothing. You think, well, this person likes pool and this person likes to boat and this person has become, I'm not sure if any of you are familiar with Ray Bradbury and the Martian Chronicles. There was a story, one of the first stories in the Martian Chronicles about this form of shadow demonization that I talk about so often, that this Martian, as soon as he came in contact with human consciousness, became what the human was thinking. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is narcissism. Because that's what a narcissist does. He looks at you and he studies you, or she studies you, and she becomes exactly what you want. She says exactly what you want to hear. And that's what demons do too. They see how hard you're praying. They see how hard you're working. And if they don't put it in your mind, they find somebody you work with or somebody you live with, and they put it in their mind, and they come around to get you that way. That's called triangulating. When narcissists or the demonics use other people around you to get to you, to trip you up, to steal your peace, these images remind us that what we speak, we create. What we allow others to speak to us creates in us. These notes right here, the piano notes, the octaves, this is water. This is water when you hit a key on a keyboard. If you listen to a narcissist tell you, oh, do you have some issues about your body? I told you looked good. Speaking those words, what are we? Mostly water. Our water inside our body is devalued and becomes dead like the narcissist. When we believe what a demon has suggested to us, that we're no good, we're worthless, just like our father or our aunt or somebody told us. When we believe that, and it's in our head constantly, before we even try, we become dead, just like the suggestion we allowed into our mind. The battlefield really is in the mind. And I hope that you understand the power of your prayer and the power of your cursing. We either create life or we create death. We have the power. On to next. All right. Yes, someone can send me an email, Yvonne, to help@Swords of St. Michael. And it is 100% private.org. It's on the website, www.swordsofstmichael.org. And I will repeat it again. And it is 100% confidential. I work for my bishop. don't share anything. The only thing that, people will hear me share is loose references to closed cases. That's why I call this a case file, because the case is closed. The people have, years ago been gone. And yes, please understand that everything is confidential. If you need to ask a question, Swords help with a little help at swordsofstmichael.org. And yes, no problem. And I don't blame you. A lot of people, this is some pretty seriously devastating stuff. If you've ever been involved for any long term, anything, even over 3 to 6 months, that can leave somebody devastated for a little bit, to where you feel that you need to do some binding prayers to get these people out of your life. But if you've been involved for years and you have children, or if this is a parent, this can leave you with such psychological scars that it takes you half of your life to try and remove these horrible bonds in your mind that keeps, like our chatters are saying, you just keep attracting them. And you're like, wait a second, how did you get so close? Because the comfort level of what we understand, we allow, until it gets so uncomfortable that we say, nope, back up, not happening now. On to next. I'm getting long-winded. I got so many things to get through. No problem, Yvonne. God bless you. My prayers will be with you tonight. All right, now, on to the next 3. Time is flying. Are all narcissists nihilists? Now, for those of you who are not familiar with Nietzsche or some of our other wild, wacky philosophers, nihilism. Oh, forgot to put the equal. Nihilist is nothing exists, period. You and I don't exist. This microphone doesn't exist. This computer doesn't exist. Nothing exists. Values, can you read that? Values are meaningless. So in other words, if I value my car, it doesn't mean anything. If I value God, it doesn't mean anything. Nothing. It's all nothing. Yeah, that's nihilism. So are all narcissists nihilists? Now, when we look at the statement, nihilism means that nothing exists. So narcissist, in order to be a nihilist or to adopt the attitude of nihilism, would have to believe that they exist. Now, this is really difficult for people to wrap their mind around. They don't. They don't believe they exist. They live trapped in fear in their mind that they must create who they are every minute they think. They're constantly losing time. They are constantly shape-shifting their history, their past, what they said. They do not exist to themselves. They are a bundle of confliction and confusion and pain, and they're constantly trying to assuage this pain and make this nothingness go away by absorbing all of you and what you want and what you want to do. And it doesn't matter. I have met narcissists that are, thank you very much, Ash, for putting that link up. Oh, thank you so much. Oh, God bless you. Libby, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, all of you, so much for supporting this ministry that I love so much and helping people. You have to remember, every single one of you, and I'm going to tell you this again at the end, that God has entrusted you the great pain and great crosses that you are each carrying, because that cross is going to help somebody else. So every single horror, narcissist, rape, pistol whipping, whatever I've lived through is going to help somebody else get solid. Know that God loves them. Know that Jesus is hanging on to them. And know that, guess what? There's somebody waiting for me to help, even if it's just one person. And I want you to remember that too. Thank you so much, Libby. So in the nothingness of the narcissist, as we get back to that, we have a void. We have a void. Excuse me for making all this noise, okay? And this is the narcissist, okay? Man, woman, whatever. The narcissist is nothing, okay? This narcissist could be the CEO of a company. 5 degrees, brilliant person. How do they get that way? For whatever reason, the narcissist decided that whoever it was, whether it was a mother or a father in that childhood that said, you're ignorant, you're stupid, you're nothing, you're a waste, I should have aborted you. Lots of kids grow up listening to that kind of stuff. It's hard to believe, but it happens. So the narcissist decides, I'm going to prove them wrong. Thank you, Yvonne. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You guys are so wonderful to me tonight. Oh my gosh, I'm going to start blushing. This is important to understand because no one understands that there is nothing inside the narcissist. What do I mean by nothing? There is no emotion. There is no heart. There is no feeling. All they are is a shell of what a human can be. They have adapted, like Athena was saying earlier, they're vampires. They're not vampires. They are blood-sucking killers. They want to kill you. They're like demons. So if there's nothing inside them, what exists? They find people that are supply, you and I. Now, what is supply? This is their value. Their value, if they were a nihilist, they wouldn't believe that anything works. Their value is in finding you and torturing you to the last breath. How do they do this? How do they understand that you are loving and you are giving? Because you believe that whatever the narcissist is telling you, that, oh, I had a bad childhood. Oh, I was in a car accident and I couldn't walk for all my high school years. I didn't attend my prom. And I had a wife that slept around on, and you believe it. Or the woman might tell you, I've had no help raising these children all my own, and the father abandoned me. But you know what? I'm so positive, and I'm such a good mother, and I do everything I can, and I'm going to classes, and you believe it. And then the next moment, a day, a week, 3 months, that dang son of a and then the rage and the hate and the anger, and you're like, what happened to my loving partner? They were never there. The narcissist emptiness is, in my opinion, in my experience, the same as a rejected demon. They're going to gnash and scream and yell for friends right outside that front door and beat the heck. Boom, 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 boom. Let me back in. And just when you think you kicked him out, the narcissist is going to do the same thing. 6 days, 6 months, 6 years, 16 years with my other one. Knock, knock, knock. Hey, what you doing? Don't come around here no more. No supply, buddy. They are empty. They are not capable of valuing anything. So they cannot be nihilists because they value the attention, the torture, the pain, the agony, the squirming, the twisting, the anger, the rage, the violence. They value any sort of reaction they get from you. That's flippin' scary. Because the narcissist's prime directive is to get any reaction out of you so they know who they are. They get this out of you, and they're important. They're big. They're on top of the world. And this is hard to understand. This is so difficult. And yes, we have some good points here I have to bring out. That many are filled with a toxic mixture of pride and fear. Now, this is the schizoid flip of the narcissist and the demonic dance of low-level demons. Why do I say that? Because they have no pride and they have no fear. Why do I say that? Because upon further inspection of these people, all they are is shame. That someone will see that they are truly nothing. They truly are nothing inside. They truly have nothing. They truly value nothing. So those are the schizoid emotions that they share. Fear that they're going to be caught, or this righteous anger that I'm better than you and I can do anything and you are worthless. Those are illusions. And the demonic does the same demonic delusion. Never forget that. My little owl cup is getting to work out tonight. Okay, so 4. I had something to say about this one too. The level of emotional development of a narcissist actually equal to 11-year-old, and how does their stunted development occur? All right, we kind of covered this in the first one by talking about specifically, 1, how do they develop, in childhood, and are they actually equal to an 11-year-old? I thought this was a really interesting observation at the time from this case, because the truth of the matter is, and I will get to your question in a minute, Edgar. The truth of the matter is that what I've noticed in, it's called dissociative identity disorder, in a number of cases that are both demonic and both psychological. In dissociative identity disorder, you have the cases I was explaining that a trauma occurs, either witnessed, perceived, or occurring, some abuse to the child, and the child, in order to protect the mind and protect the center of this little child's heart, breaks down and they stop growing emotionally. This can happen at 3. And the DID could have a 3-year-old that presents itself in certain situations, like if a woman in a marital situation, is uncomfortable with a sex act, she may become a 3-year-old. And the husband doesn't understand what's going on because her identity took over because she's scared. Or this woman, if she had something happen when she was 7 and she saw her uncle, take her beautiful little puppy and grab the head and smash it against a wall, and then all of a sudden the puppy's laying there limp and the puppy gets thrown at her feet. Boom. 7 years old. She's like, and then in adult life, she is driving down the road and she smashes a bird and the bird's head gets knocked and boom, she reacts like a 7-year-old. This is really scary stuff, you guys. Or at 13, maybe at 13, she's gang raped in the back of a stadium by little boys. Thank God, not men. And she goes somewhere else. And then as an adult, she's maybe at a party with her husband, and she's confronted by 3 guys and they're all drunk, and all of a sudden she's reacting like a 13-year-old and she starts shrieking helplessly. This is dissociative identity disorder, and this is very similar to what a narcissist presents in the case that, as Edgar was saying, it's a toxic fear and it's a toxic anger. It is so horrific to try and understand what emotional level they are at. The narcissists that I have met and that I have been married to and that I have dated for extended periods of time, 11, that's a stretch. Most of them are between the ages of 8 and about 14. The emotional quotient, for whatever reason, does not mature. It doesn't, shall we say, it doesn't grow. It doesn't allow itself to grow, if that makes any sense. And somebody's telling me something in the, yes, it is a playbook. It is demonic, and that is part of it. And do I think occultism, people that are occultists, are they narcissistic? That's a really good question. And no, I don't think so. And this is why. Because occultism or occultists, let's just talk about people that practice the occult. When you look at people that are practicing the occult, there's usually, some very, very strong reasons they're practicing it. They feel helpless. They feel stupid. They want control of their lives. Or, like the narcissist, They have dreams of grandeur by knowing things they have no business knowing. So is that narcissistic? Not really, but it appears that way. Why? Because in practicing the occult, there's always a desire for power and knowledge that other people do not have. And where does this desire come from? In an unhealthy human, usually the desire comes from being pushed aside, rejected, and not having the basic supports, as I love quoting Dr. Charles Stanley, the basic three main things we as humans need to be healthy, which is we need that sense of belonging. We need to know where our tribe is. Who do we belong to? We need to have a sense of worth. We need to know that we're worth something to somebody. We also need to know that we're competent. And usually people without these three dynamic legs, the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, we don't have that basis. So we seek out the occult. We seek out conjuring. We seek out tarot card readers. We seek out astronomers, astrologers, anybody to give us a picture of what our lives could be like, because we don't believe inside that we are. Now, is that similar to narcissism? Yes, in the sense that the narcissist has nothing. They are nothing. As you said, toxic rage, anger, hate, because they cannot be and cannot have what people that love and feel joy do. That's the big difference. So, I'm sorry I'm running over here, ladies and gentlemen. I apologize, but we got to get through these last questions. Okay, so how does their sudden development occur? I think I explained to that. Specifically, it is the level of trauma. I had one case where a mother was 65 years old, still bathing a 35-year-old man, and this was incest. This was still incest, and the young man was very narcissistic. Believed he could do anything, believed he was better than anyone, had a very toxic, angry attitude. There was no fixing it. There was only removing her, which devastated him because he was totally reliant on her, and he was pretty soon out on the street. It was really, really sad. But however, that focus of the parent creating in this child this absolute belief that they're so much better than anyone and that they can do anything and they can be anything, it puffs the child up to not have a real sense of who they are and what their limits are. It's very, very sad, and that creates a narcissist too. And that also creates that really low emotional EQ, intelligent quotient, of not being able to love or be wise or grow emotionally, as we all try to do. So last one for the night, and then I'll take any questions and that sort of thing. Yes, it was horribly abusive. However, this is the problem. Somebody just commented on what I said, that whereas we see what a 60-year-old woman is doing to a 30-year-old son that she had late in life as abusive, bathing him and touching him and arousing him and taking pictures, we see that as abusive. She thought that was normal because that was done to her. And whereas she knows there's something wasn't right because she hid it for so long, she knew there was something wrong about it. She didn't see it as abusive. She saw that as, a normal thing that she should share. And that is definitely a personality disorder of, it's a form of, what is that called? It's a lack of reality. It's a schizophrenic, when they step away from reality, because she wasn't living in reality. There was no reality in that. But that's how this woman was treated too. So the final one, and Ash, if you got any questions you need to ask me, grab them if you can. Is narcissism chemical, physiological, or a psychological disorder? This is really good because in the DSM, as many of you know, we have organic problems. We have organic anxieties, which, is not really normal. We shouldn't be having anxieties. God doesn't give us a spirit of anxiety. We have fears. We have, there are some people who really do hear things that are not there. That's organic. And so is it chemical? As in diabetes can be turned on at 7 by this really strange little virus that lives in your blood. And if you have an accident, boom, it's open. So, we do not know enough about how the brain works. I am not licensed. I am not a clinician. I am only a studier. And my experience tells me that narcissism is not chemical. Narcissism is not physiological, or in other words, is not of the body or caused by, let's say, an imbalance in B12 or D. And in a lot of the cases that I investigate and I have to go do, some of the most interesting things that I find with people that are seeing and hearing things, they're not sleeping. They're missing vitamin D. Their diet is so far out of balance that they are having physiological effects, and they're having defective sleep. That if they could change that, they may not be experiencing everything they are. So this would be normal. That thank you, John. I really appreciate the compliment. For this to be chemical, physiological, or psychological disorder, when we look at narcissism in the dark triad, it is a choice. It is pathological, meaning there is a pathology that if they were to, in the far stretches, unlike demons, they could change their behavior. But as I said before, this is not an attitude they can change. If there is nothing inside of them, if there is no... It's like when people complain about cockfights and dog fights. These animals are bred for one thing: hatred, violence, and rage. This is the narcissist. The narcissist has either had no love, they've been beaten continuously, raped continuously as a child, thrown away, used, set out on the street when they're 6 years old to go rob things out of cars and bring them back, or else they're beaten, kept out of school for half a year. I mean, there's some seriously sad, horrific stories of people. And then there's also those stories, like I was telling you about this boy with his mother in the bathtub, where, they were just so coddled, and they were the center of this parent, that they were given this godlike, grandiose status in the household. It's a pathology that they could unlearn parts of this behavior, but the attitude is pretty much set in. And as with demons, there is no changing either. And this is how they mirror and they mimic the demonic so well. So in the treatment would have to be intensive behavior modification, potential regression therapy. There are so many new therapies out there. Is it fixable? No, I don't believe that you can fix something that is so deep and so horrific inside a person, but I do believe it's treatable. I do believe there is that potential. Does that mean you should stay with a narcissist? Does that mean that you should withstand narcissistic abuse or demonic abuse in any way, shape, or form? No, not at all. This show really seeks to parallel how we must engage in a spiritual warfare with these people, with demonics, with the vices that are constantly tempting us. And we must learn ourselves enough in our own prayer life to be able to reject it, to recognize it, and to let it go and let God deal with it. And that's not an easy task for any of us. Are there any questions asked? Yes, everything that we do habitually affects our brains. Let's see, deal with this in, yes, paranormal cases. And exactly, it's not biochemical. Mind and brain are united constantly in human growth. And that's why in brain and mind, we're looking at very low emotional ability to mature. They can't mature. There's no way they can, because they can't go forward. Their brain and mind have been disassociated and traumatized and affected, and those channels in the brain are so deep. So there is nothing there. And I agree. Edward just pointed out that for narcissists, sometimes the only way they may change for a family or for a loved one is if everybody abandons the narcissist, which that is their worst fear. Demons don't have this fear because demons don't care if you abandon them. They've got plenty of us to play with, and they're here till God says so. So we have to be on the lookout for those people that attempt to cross our boundaries, place negative on us that does not belong there, whether this is in a business or a personal relationship, and we walk away. We turn away. We do not listen to it. We do not give it any credence any more than we do a demon telling us how worthless we are. And trust me, they speak to us just like our guardian angels on a regular basis. And we don't even know that they're in there until we find ourselves acting accordingly. So I want to remind you all that the biggest thing that you can do in spiritual warfare is start with your baptism. The promises of baptism. Get into prayer. Find out who Christ is to you on a daily basis. Never stop. If you find your way into the Catholic Church, let me know if you need some help. Because this channel here, Swords of St. Michael, we're here for everybody. We're here to love you exactly where you're at and remind you that the battle's already been won. And hopefully we're going to be here and stay here to help you win the fight and win it right. I want to thank everybody for tonight. Thank you all to my Patreon subscribers. Thank you so much for all your chat, all the donations tonight. God bless you all. Thank you so much. And for those of you that remember, give us a thumbs up, a like, hit the little bell on the bottom, subscribe. And I will be seeing you with a new class this weekend for formation. Bernard Clairvaux. We're going to be doing another formation group. Thanks, Ash, for helping out, moderate. Thank you, Athena. And we will have part 2 of Narcissism in 3 weeks, because the next week is going to be a Halloween kind of spectacular exorcism kind of thing. So thank you, guys. God bless you. And Sister Vera, over and out. Until next time. Bye.